following is a CUNY TV special presentation.
I want to thank the mayor and his team, Department of Sanitation, DOT, OEM, FDNY, NYPD, and all the other agencies that have worked so hard this winter to keep our city open. I think we should give them a round of applause. Thank you very, very much. I also want to congratulate an old friend, David Geffen, who made a tremendous investment in our art and cultural community yesterday, a $100 million gift to Lincoln Center. Congratulations to David. Okay, so I also want to take a moment of silence for a man who passed away last month. He was a great New Yorker, a great American. He was a friend of many people in this room. I was lucky to serve on the LMDC board with John Whitehead. He was a true American hero, and our city, our state, our nation really lost a great person. So a moment of silence for John Whitehead. And now to our honored guests. This morning we are pleased to welcome back Mayor Bill de Blasio to the ABNY stage. Since assuming office last January, Mayor de Blasio and his administration have made tremendous strides for all New Yorkers. They have launched universal pre-K and have reached their enrollment goal of 50,000 students. They have set another ambitious goal, and the mayor has pledged to create or preserve 200,000 units of affordable housing over the next 10 years. As part of a broad and sweeping effort to help secure our city's middle class. Of course, another critical component of the mayor's plan is to creating well-paying jobs to employ more New Yorkers. We are glad that the mayor is here today to update ABNY on his plans for housing, economic development, and job creation throughout the 5 boroughs. There's no doubt that there's been tremendous progress in New York over the last year. The city added over 75,000 jobs in the first 11 months of 2014, and these jobs have had a significant positive impact on commercial leasing and other economic indicators. Last year, new leasing activity in Manhattan registered nearly 33 million square feet, the highest level in over 15 years, and a nearly 30% increase from the year before. Thanks to the great work of Mayor de Blasio and his team, much of this growth is continuing in the outer boroughs, as well as which are increasingly attracting new and emerging companies looking for the next great opportunity in New York City. Great example, Etsy today just announced going IPO at a $1.7 billion valuation and trying to raise $100 million, and they're headquartered in Brooklyn. Mayor, we know our work last year helped lay the groundwork for much of your job agenda, including the tech talent pipeline, and we are happy that you are here today to update us on your progress in creating economic opportunities for all New Yorkers. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our Mayor, Bill de Blasio.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, first, I want to thank everyone for coming out and braving the snow and creating this quintessentially New York atmosphere as you walk around the room. Today, you feel as if you are on a subway car. So it's very natural for all of us. Thank you for having helped to create that. I want to thank Bill Rudin. Bill has been a tremendous partner in the work we do. Someone that I and so many members of my team turn to for advice and help and someone to work with. And one of the things Bill mentioned that ABNY's been front and center on is how to develop the workforce we need for all our industries, and particularly for our extraordinary and ever-growing tech industry. And I want to thank ABNY for the great work that you've done in partnership with us. Let's thank Bill Rudin and thank ABNY for all they do. So 17 months ago, I was honored to address an event hosted by this organization, a breakfast like this, that was just about a month before the 2013 mayoral election. At that time, there were some pundits who wondered exactly how the ABNY crowd would receive me. After all, my campaign was built around a vision of progressive change. It was focused on taking dead aim at income inequality and helping to rebuild our struggling middle class. And surely, the cynics argued quite clearly at the times, surely progressive ideas in a setting like this would be met with the sound of crickets, or possibly something worse. And that the notion that so many people who had worked, particularly in the private sector economy, would hear those ideas and not find them appealing. That was the conventional wisdom. But I knew in my heart something different. I knew a lot about this organization and the people who've been a part of it. I knew about the commitment to this city and the commitment to seeing this city through tough times. The very origins of ABNY were in the midst of the crisis of the 1970s, when the very fate of the city hung in the balance. So I knew the people who are involved in ABNY think bigger and think about the essence of what we're experiencing as a city, what our people are experiencing, where we're going. That's the core of what draws people to this organization. And I know, like so many of the people who are in the audience today, I knew people would get the point. I knew they would think about the bigger picture. That day, 17 months ago, I said, we cannot resign ourselves to the mindset that says rising inequality is a necessary byproduct of urban success. There was, I felt, a current in a lot of the public discourse that suggested that we would move forward and that inequality would simply be the price of admission. I thought that, in fact, inequality was so corrosive and so against the grain of all we value as New Yorkers and Americans that we had to address the crisis head on, and in fact could never accept the notion that development and economic strength had to create growing inequality. So that's what I laid out that day 17 months ago. No one booed or hissed. No one left the room. In fact, a lot of people agreed, each in their own way, but a lot of people agreed with the core concept. And I think it's because so many people understand that the inequality crisis is not just about the concern that so many in this room have for those who struggle or those who are vulnerable. It's not just about those of modest means. It's literally about our whole society. The inequality crisis is not just a threat to those who are clinging to their place in the middle class, hoping they won't fall out. It is a crisis that affects every one of us, regardless of your income or status, because it affects the social fabric, it affects our future prospects, it affects our strength and stability. Even if you've had great personal success, and many people in this room have, and many people in this room who've had great personal success started from pretty humble beginnings and worked their way to that success. Even if you've had that success, making sure that we have an opportunity society is fundamentally in your interest, because that has been the magic and the strength of New York City, not just for decades, for centuries. That's been the core of who we are. If New York ceases to be a city of genuine opportunity for all, regardless of the circumstances of their birth, then we not only lose a part of who we are, a part of our culture, a part of our persona, we also risk losing our place as a global center of innovation, creativity, diversity, progress, the very attributes that have made New York indispensable in the world today. Those very attributes that always gave us strength, but in some ways are more powerful than ever, are also under threat because of the economic reality that so many of our people face. And that's why I refuse to accept the false choices that for too long have defined the way that some have viewed our city. Let me offer a few of those false choices that we've often seen in the purveyed by those who I think offer a conventional wisdom. One, the false choice that sustained economic growth is fated to help only some while leaving so many others behind. The false choice that more development inevitably means that everyday New Yorkers will be priced out of their neighborhoods. The false choice that New York cannot be both a growing city economically and a city of opportunity for all. We know that that type of myopic thinking should not and will not define our future. A progressive agenda, one that seeks to reduce the cost of living for working families, as well as boost their wages, is not in conflict with fostering a thriving economy. In fact, it can and must be the foundation for a sustainable, growing economy. Now, we've just begun to implement our agenda, and I appreciate Bill Rudin's summary of some of the key elements of what we've worked on over the last year plus. So we've just begun, but if 2014 is any indication, the policies promoting fairness and equality are not inhibiting economic growth in the slightest. So let's just take a look at some of the good news from last year. In 2014, New York City saw, as you heard, almost 100,000 new jobs added, more than 4 million private sector jobs now in the city, an all-time high, and that is something we should be very proud of. An unemployment rate down nearly 2 points in less than a year, with the third quarter experiencing the largest 3-month drop in unemployment on record. The expansion of an entertainment industry, and this is something that makes me particularly proud as a New Yorker, the expansion of the entertainment industry that produced a record 46 television series and over 240 films right here in New York. And that spreads the message of who we are and why we're special even further around the country, around the world. And, as I mentioned before, the continued growth of a booming tech sector that now employs nearly 300,000 people, a number that would have been unimaginable a couple of decades ago, but that's a number that's going to grow a lot, and this administration is going to do a lot to help it grow. So our city's growing, obviously economically, but we're also growing in terms of our population. We're at the all-time high we have ever had in this city, over 8.4 million people. We are clearly on a path to be a city of 9 million people by 2040. And so we remain focused on the critical challenge of growing our economy, but we know we have to do it in a way that's broad-based and guided by the idea of expanding opportunity for every New Yorker, every borough, every neighborhood, every background. And we know that the best and the brightest, that the most creative, the most innovative, the hungriest, those who want to strive and create something the world's never seen before, we know those people come from every neighborhood. They come from every zip code. Doesn't matter what the circumstances of their beginnings. We know so many of them have great things ahead if there's even the slightest chance for opportunity. And we know that the history of New York City is filled with people, many of them in this room, who through grit and determination did something extraordinary. And that door has to remain open. So let's state the obvious. If our families can't afford to stay in our city, then we're all denied the contributions of those unrealized success stories. That's why we focus so intently on the crisis of affordability. Now, there's two sides of the affordability equation. There's finding more affordable places for families to live, and of course, there's helping to grow New Yorkers' incomes through higher wages, better benefits, and a number of other steps that we can take to reduce the squeeze that so many of our families feel. So we have to address this from many angles to ensure that people can actually live in this town and contribute. So, our housing plan, I've talked about it a lot lately. I devoted my State of the City address to it. But I want to summarize some of the key elements that will make this work. For the first time ever, a requirement that affordable housing be a condition of new development resulting from a rezoning. Our ongoing efforts to fight to protect and strengthen rent regulation to ensure that housing units that are currently affordable stay that way. We're dedicating $36 million in our new budget to protecting tenants from harassment and cracking down on predatory landlords. That's a small minority of landlords, but unfortunately, those individuals only want to make a quick buck at the expense of their tenants' well-being and at the expense of our city's affordability. We have put a lot of skin in the game of creating affordable housing for the future of the city. We more than doubled the 10-year capital budget for affordable housing to $8 billion now, and that $8 billion will leverage private investments of over $40 billion in housing in this city, producing more units for every kind of New Yorker. That adds up, as you know. I think I've repeated the number enough times. 200,000 units. 200,000 units, enough housing for 500,000 people, more people than in the city limits of Miami or Kansas City. And to do that, we're preserving and building, and when it comes to building, we're building and building fast. I hope that is music to the ears of a lot of people in this room, because we need to do things fast to achieve this plan. So we're going to be building at double the average annual rate for affordable housing production in the last 25 years. This is a very ambitious plan. It is purposefully ambitious. It is ambitious to hold us all accountable and to tell everyone, particularly at City Hall and in the key agencies, that we cannot rest until we've achieved this goal for all our people. And everyone in this room knows that that's just one part of the equation. We have to create more market housing, too, for every kind of New Yorker and to have a positive impact on the cost of housing. So we're catalyzing 160,000 new market rate units over the next 10 years to help the housing supply keep pace with the growing population. It's ambitious, it's necessary, and it's tracking with the reality of this being a place that more and more people want to stay and more people want to come to. Now, as we rezone to add more housing capacity, we adamantly believe we have to account for the infrastructure necessary as well. So we're committed to investing in infrastructure at the necessary level so communities don't have to wait for years for new schools or parks or playgrounds or open spaces or transportation. We know these things have to happen in real time as the development is occurring. That is a hallmark of responsible development, and it's a priority for this administration. So, we know that if we continue to succeed at building affordable housing, and the results of year one, over 17,000 units built or preserved or begun, was an extraordinary testament to the devotion of our team to these goals. I always say I have great faith in our Deputy Mayor, Alicia Glenn. She wakes up in the morning thinking about 200,000 units of affordable housing. She goes to sleep at night thinking about 200,000 units of affordable housing. I wish I was joking. Yeah. We know the affordable housing piece is key to everything else. But we also know that the affordability equation, the equation for addressing income inequality, also hinges profoundly on creating opportunity, creating better wages, creating better benefits, bringing up the economic prospects of so many New Yorkers. And that's why we're working to grow our economy, to expand new job opportunities, and at the same time to drive wages up in our city. This administration is fighting for smart and inclusive and five-borough economic growth, growth that benefits New Yorkers across the board. Now, the partnership of the people in this room is critical. It's critical to making New York a stronger and fairer city. It's critical to keeping this place a city defined as a place of openness and innovation, a place where more than ever people want to start a business or grow the business they have. With your help, we can keep this city a place that has that clear appeal and sense of possibility for so many. The city of New York will do its part. First, by investing in our people, in their capacity to work in the jobs of today and tomorrow, so that businesses don't need to look far and wide to find the most skilled and best qualified workers in the world. Let me offer some specifics. Again, we understand that this is about creating a workforce for an ever-changing economy, and that means improving our schools. That means what we do through our CUNY system. That means what we do through our job training programs. All of these pieces will define the workforce that you can tap into today and tomorrow. So, beginning at the beginning, we start at the earliest point with our children in pre-K. As you know, more than 53,000 kids enrolled in full-day, high-quality pre-K this year, and we expect that number to be closer to 70,000 kids next year, meaning every child who needs a pre-K seat in New York City will have one, and we're very proud of that fact. We're focusing on the after-school programs that are going to extend the school day for our kids, keep them safe, keep tapping into their interests and expanding their motivation to get a great education. We've more than doubled the number of after-school seats for our middle school kids. We'll be even adding more in the coming school year. And I got to tell you, for so many parents, of course, they know of a child's after-school program. They're learning more. They know that's an opportunity for that child to really find the things they love and inspire them towards greater and greater achievement. But for parents, it also means their children are safe. It means they have the peace of mind of knowing their kids are taken care of while they're finishing their workday. That's the kind of city we want for all New Yorkers. So, with all the changes we're making in our schools, and those are just two examples, pre-K and after school are two examples, but I emphasize, top to bottom, we are changing our school system because it is not currently creating the kind of opportunities that our children need for the economy of today and tomorrow. We're not educating our children in the way we need to for the economy that is today and the economy that will be tomorrow. We have a lot to do. But we know that by investing in our children early, by extending out the school day through after school, by so many of the other efforts we're putting in place, including new efforts to recruit and retain and train the very best teachers, that we can transform this school system and help it to create not only good citizens and good people, but a workforce you can depend on in the future. Now, looking at CUNY, which is a part of New York City that has always been essential to creating opportunity. CUNY has been the great gateway for so many New Yorkers of modest means, so many people who came here as part of immigrant families. CUNY has been that transcendent element in their lives. CUNY is doing great work, and we want to help it do work that's even more pertinent to today's economy. So we are investing $29 million in STEM programs at CUNY's community colleges. Because as you heard, as Bill said earlier, so many of those tech jobs available right now, and other jobs as well, would be available to young people who just had that 2-year degree in a STEM area. What a difference it would make if they could have access to that kind of education. And we know that CUNY can be even more transcendent in the future if we invest in it, and we will. And then, as I mentioned, you got our public schools, you've got CUNY, but you also have our training programs that we utilize as the City of New York. And I have to be straightforward about this. For years and years, there's been well-intentioned job training efforts and placement efforts, but not effective ones, and not, if you will, modern ones, calibrated to the real reality of the economy. And a lot of money has been put into these programs, typically about $500 million a year into workforce development and training efforts. But from our point of view, the focus was not in the right place. Too many of the jobs that people were trained for or placed in were temporary, were low wage, were dead end. It didn't move people forward. We have an obligation to people who need to find their place in this economy to do better by them. We also have an obligation to the taxpayer to spend that money more effectively. Over the last few years, less than 10% of our workforce development investment went into skills training. Skills training, the piece that actually is transcendent, was a very small part of the pie. We are now tripling that investment, and we're moving forward with a plan to redesign our career pathway system to arm up to 30,000 New Yorkers per year with the skills they need for quality and stable jobs today and tomorrow. Good paying jobs that people can feed a family with. We're working with companies across many industries, from healthcare to construction, and we recognize that each industry has different needs. And we want to work with each industry to understand what they need and then calibrate our training efforts accordingly. The technology industry is one example, desperately needs more talent. We want them to tap into homegrown New York talent, and we have to help them do it. So that's why we created the Tech Talent Pipeline, to support the growth of the booming tech sector here in the city and train New Yorkers to be those companies' first choice hires. 3,000 New Yorkers will benefit from this action this year. This year. This is not an initiative to be implemented someday in the future. This year, the Tech Talent Pipeline will help 3,000 New Yorkers get a job in that sector, and we want to deepen that and build upon it. Another example, crucial new element in our economy, modern manufacturing. New businesses that utilize technology and the ingenuity of New Yorkers from every borough to quickly turn exciting ideas into tangible products regardless of their scale. This means using technologies like 3D printers, which are revolutionizing production. So great ideas come to life right here and right now in New York City. And it's a sector that offers opportunities for good-paying jobs and sustainable jobs. Now, just want to note, I know there was a piece in Cranes about this administration's view on manufacturing. I will certainly tell you we're going to have a lot more to say on that in the very near future. We regard manufacturing as a crucial piece of our economy. And as adamant as I am about creating and preserving 200,000 units of affordable housing, and as much as I know that will mean some areas that used to be manufacturing areas and are underutilized or not utilized at all at this point will be areas for housing, there are other parts of the city that are great manufacturing centers and need to remain so. There are areas where we can expand greatly the manufacturing activities. We're going to lay out that vision. But I want to say to those who care deeply about the manufacturing part of our economy, who believe it's an epitome of the kind of jobs that actually provide for people properly, rest assured that it's a big part of our plan, and we will be laying out that vision soon. So in the manufacturing sector, and particularly with modern manufacturing, we're going to do that same partnership. We're going to create that same partnership to figure out the needs of the industry and align our training efforts to those needs. And then we're going to secure commitments from the businesses whose needs we address through training to hire those people, young people and some not so young, who come through the training ready-made to work in those companies. We want to make sure they are hired quickly by those very same companies. We know all of those training efforts, educational efforts, will fundamentally shape our future. But we know there's also a lot the city has to do in terms of investments in our built environment, because in this extraordinarily crowded city, there's still a lot to do to build it up properly for the economy of today and tomorrow. A lot of businesses rightfully need a particular physical environment in which to succeed. It's our obligation to do all we can to create that infrastructure. And we understand how important the right infrastructure is to economic growth. I always say, look around the world at the nations that are thriving economically, at the cities that are thriving economically. They are investing in infrastructure. They're investing in education and training. They're doing the things that we're trying to do. I hasten to add, in some of our competitor nations and cities, their national governments are deeply committed to those investments and make it a priority. We do not experience that reality currently in Washington, D.C. That was the gentlest way I could put it. We have a lot of work to do, and the transportation bill coming up this May will be a litmus test of whether our national government is actually interested in making the kinds of investments to build the economy of economic engines for our nation like New York City. But we're going to make the investments we can nonetheless. We're devoted to it. We're putting our money where our mouth is when it comes to infrastructure. We're investing in city-owned assets so innovative businesses can grow there. For example, one of the great success stories of recent years, the Brooklyn Navy Yard. Brooklyn Navy Yard epitomizes so much good about the history of New York City, so much good about the current economy and the sense of innovation and creativity. Brooklyn Navy Yard's done a great job of opening up opportunity for people from surrounding neighborhoods to get a chance at those good-paying jobs. But the Brooklyn Navy Yard is not finished. There's still an opportunity to build that out further. And so we're investing $140 million in a redevelopment project that's transforming a previously unused warehouse, an empty warehouse, into a modern manufacturing facility that will create 3,000 permanent jobs. You can clap for that. And I think a lot of people in this room can relate to this notion. I went to this extraordinary facility, and like so many parts of the Brooklyn Navy Yard, a facility that once upon a time hummed with activity as a part of the war effort 70 years ago. And here was this cold, empty space right in the heart of the creative energy of Brooklyn. So many entrepreneurs who would love to use that space, but it wasn't going to happen unless the city invested. We wanted that space online, creating jobs as a place that businesses could start and grow. And one of the great successes of the Brooklyn Navy Yard, because the job training and placement services are right there on site, maximizing opportunity for folks who haven't had as much chance to succeed in this economy. The same concept that's worked at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, the capital investment, the job training, the mission-driven approach, we're applying that to the Brooklyn Army Terminal. We're opening 500,000 square feet for modern manufacturing because of the capital investment that we've made there. That's going to mean 1,000 new permanent jobs. Again, smart, modern jobs that will fit what we need for today and tomorrow in another space that had gone unused for decades. That's what you know about already, but today I'd like to announce another piece of our investment plan. Today I'm announcing our new plan to invest $150 million over 12 years to revitalize the Hunts Point market, fortifying a vital aspect of our infrastructure, our food supply. Ladies and gentlemen, you really want our food supply to be protected and fortified. This investment in Hunts Point will modernize the buildings and infrastructure that are currently there. It's also going to open up new space for new businesses. And this is about not just making sure that that area is economically strong and viable for the future. It's also about making sure it is resilient and sustainable. Crucial to the future of this city. It's part of how we're going to improve New York City's resiliency and readiness for challenges ahead, as we experienced with Superstorm Sandy. It's hard to overstate how important Hunts Point is to our city. It occupies 329 acres, supports 115 private wholesalers, employs over 8,000 people, and a lot of those jobs are good paying jobs available to people regardless of education level. We want to protect those jobs. We want to see more jobs grow in that space. And we believe that the Hunts Point of tomorrow recognizes the yearning that so many people feel to have their food grown locally, to not have to participate in the reality of food moved from 3,000 miles away in California or other parts of the world, even though that's got its joys. The more our food is grown locally, the better it is for our environment, the healthier it is, the fresher it is. It allows also we in the city of New York to work more closely with our brothers and sisters upstate to build their economy up and to work together in tandem. So we're going to create a dedicated space to better link us to the food that is grown and produced in upstate New York, strengthening our city's crucial partnership with upstate communities and farms and businesses. Are there some upstaters in the crowd? So, I think I've made the point that we're investing. We're investing a lot, obviously investing a lot in the affordable housing plan. We're investing a lot in our schools. Lord knows I'm not focusing on the question of public safety today, but because Commissioner Bratton is here, I want to commend him again for the great work he's doing, and we're investing a lot. We're investing a lot in the NYPD. So, what folks in the private sector should want to see, in my opinion, is exactly that kind of focus, that energetic focus on investment, making this a safe city, a city with a better educational system, a city that's constantly trying to improve our workforce through our public schools, through CUNY, through our training programs, a city that is constantly improving the physical plant necessary for a modern economy. We're investing energetically, huge sums of money, strategically, in a targeted fashion, to build that economy. We're investing. We've got a lot of skin in the game. And we're focused on the whole picture, as you know from my State of the City address. We're investing in transportation. We're investing in more bus rapid transit. We're investing, for the first time, in a real citywide ferry system, which we think will be great for New York City. We're investing in job growth also by streamlining our bureaucracies, cutting red tape, speeding up so much of what we do. All of that is needed. We're not just talking about it, we're doing it. We're dedicating our balance sheet to this type of approach. And that's why, now that I've talked about how the City of New York will do our part to tackle our inequality crisis, I want to call on you, the business leaders gathered in this room, to do your part. I need you, we all need you, to take responsibility for providing the great people of this city with the opportunities, the better wages, and the chances for advancement that they need and they deserve. And that means hiring New Yorkers from every neighborhood, giving them the chance to put their skills and their drive and their determination to work for your company. It also means raising wages for your workers. This is the crucial need of our times. Companies across our city should move as quickly as possible to raise their minimum wage to over $13 an hour. As you know, that's the level we're fighting to achieve in Albany. And cities and states all over the country are acting. Cities and states all over the country are taking action in favor of better wages and benefits. By the way, if you look at the referenda in the election year 2014, even in some of the reddest states, people voted for better wages and benefits. This is the issue of our times, and things are moving in terms of public policy. It's time for the private sector to move as well. Businesses across the country are acting. The Gap and Aetna and Costco and many others have already made some real progress in terms of improved wages. Many are going well beyond the national minimum wage, and I urge them to go farther. And keep in mind, they're not doing it to be charitable. They may believe it's a good thing to do, but the core impulse is much more practical. They know that working people who have enough money to spend fuel a strong economy. They know that families that succeed economically create a strong nation. That when people can't have enough in their bank account to buy products, it holds us all back. That when families fail economically, it burdens everyone, and it's a moral crisis for our city, our state, our nation. So companies are acting more and more because they do see the big picture. They also understand the practical impact. Studies have shown how increasing workers' wages has a powerful upward pull on the entire economy, because higher wages simply means increased consumer spending. And raising wages is good for business on many other levels. I want to quote David Blasio. Is the CEO of Uncommon Goods. It's an innovative retailer and a very successful one based in Brooklyn. And he's been a successful entrepreneur who advocates strongly for increasing the wages of workers. He said it very simply. When you treat workers the right way and help them succeed economically and help their families succeed, quote, we see higher productivity and lower turnover when employees are fairly compensated. Simple, practical reality. So it's time for New York City businesses to take bold action. Not only because hardworking New Yorkers deserve a path to the middle class and an opportunity to stay in the middle class, but because giving them that opportunity would do so much to help our economy for everyone. And to that end, I'm also calling on major investors and lenders to put their money in companies that pay good wages. Leaders of our finance industry have a very real impact on our city's economy. They have a huge impact on decisions of businesses all over the country. They should use their power to benefit the people of this city and hardworking people all over the country, people in the middle class, people trying to stay in it, working class people, low-income people trying to work their way up. I'm calling upon our financial sector to use their power and influence to help us move forward, a broader effort to convince companies far and wide to raise wages for the good of all. Think of all the success stories in this room that wouldn't even have been possible without something having worked, something having sparked along the way, some opportunity being open to you, something that actually paid off so you could keep going, that rewarded you for your sense of purpose and your drive. We don't have enough of that today, and we have to restore it. That idea, that promise, one that has paid huge dividends for so many here in the room today, that idea is at risk, and that's why we have to take action. Now, our work to tackle the inequality crisis and to keep New York City an open and innovative place. It won't be easy. I've never tried to suggest that any of this is easy, but it's necessary. There's a sense of urgency. The time is now. The time to address it is right now. Because there's so much that we can do as a city. We have such ability as a city, such strength to address this issue, to tackle it head on. This administration is committed, and we're investing. The people in this room who have such great reach, such great capacity can make a huge difference. And everyday New Yorkers will work with us, will stand with us in creating an economy that works for everyone. So let's recommit ourselves to making this city a place not of exclusivity, not of exclusive opulence, but a place of opportunity and innovation for all. It's a big job. It's a tough job. But the stories, some famous, not so famous, of people in this room and beyond, everyday New Yorkers who made it, demonstrate that it's well worth undertaking. I believe we'll succeed. I believe this is a moment where we can change things and get this city on the right track for its future, and I believe we'll achieve that together. Thank you very much.
Mayor, you laid out a very compelling argument regarding the income inequality that's affecting our city and our country. What else can the people in this room do to help you support your efforts in making changes?
Thank you very much. Well, I appreciate it, Bill. And look, I think it's a straightforward agenda. Supporting our efforts, the plan that we put forward, our investments, supporting our efforts to get a transportation bill done in Washington that will keep building our infrastructure, supporting our efforts in Albany to raise wages and benefits. All of that helps immensely. But then it also comes down to the things you can do directly. As I said, what you can do to raise wages and benefits, what you can do to hire everyday New Yorkers, to hire folks who haven't had as much opportunity. And then it is working with us to build these workforce development efforts the right way. The only way our training programs work is in tandem with you. If you help us figure out what you need and how to construct it properly, and we create the kind of workforce you're looking for, that's a win for both of us, but then we need you to hire those people. We need you to hire the folks who get that training and get them to work right away. We appreciate deeply, a lot of people in this room are profoundly charitable. We need your help investing in a number of these workforce efforts and educational efforts through the Mayor's Fund, through our Fund for Public Education. Those efforts help immensely. And finally, I know a lot of people do this already, but we want to deepen this. We need you involved in our schools. Because I think, amen, I've said for a long time, we need to deepen the notion that our schools, particularly our high schools and middle schools, have a direct connection to the economic sectors of this city. So kids get acclimated early on to what kind of jobs and what kind of opportunities are ahead, so they get a deeper understanding of how to participate in the modern economy. They get the mentorship, they get internship opportunities, they get the sense that they actually belong in the modern economy. A lot of our young people don't know that yet. But with your involvement in the schools in a very targeted way, you can make a huge difference on that front.
Okay, I'll open to the floor. Questions? Anyone have a question? Somebody has to have a question.
Wow, what is this shy group of New Yorkers?
Kathy?
I just want to give a shout out to your Department of Sanitation and your great commissioner. Good job.
Kathy, I want to thank you for that controversial question. I think the Department of Sanitation is doing a hell of a job. They deserve a round of applause. I also want to say, I say this with profound love, I have a special appreciation for sanitation workers. I've worked with them for a long time. I have a great appreciation to the sanitation garage in my neighborhood in Brooklyn, BK6. And the great thing, I really do, I just think they're cool. But the great thing is, I think I've experienced the category of mayoral leadership called the snowstorm. And I really have had a lot of experience with that. And so I've gone to the garages as the snow is starting to mount and the battle is about to join. And seriously, it's like watching one of those NFL films, because you go around and guys will say things like, "Now's our time to shine." Like, this is what we trained for all year. So it's actually quite inspiring. I urge everyone, visit your local sanitation garage on the eve of a storm. You won't regret it.
You can go out now. It's perfect timing. Questions from the audience? Yes, sir.
I appreciate that you chose to focus on jobs, on education, housing. Towards the end of your talk, you spoke a little bit about what the business community can do for social services. I'm a social services guy, so could you talk a little bit more about the relationship between the business community here in the city and social services agencies?
Well, I think it takes a couple of different forms. I mean, look, the business community, obviously a lot of folks have been deeply involved in efforts to aid our social service agencies and charities. I appreciate that. A lot of companies have taken a special interest in particular people in need. For example, tremendous efforts to help the homeless. And all that charitable emphasis we need to continue and to deepen. But again, I think there's a way to take that to the next level and more directly achieve an impact. And one example, so the Mayor's Fund is now working on an effort that is not just focused on traditional summer jobs, but is focused on making sure that literally every child of working age, every young person high school age, who is in a shelter or is in foster care gets a summer job. It's a simple idea. Kids who need it the most. We've got a lot of great partners, foster care agencies and homeless services providers who are ready to help us literally take care of the children most dislocated, who are an important part of our future but have been dealt a tough, tough hand, to find those teenagers and get them a summer job, kids who often would never have a chance at a summer job because, unfortunately, their lives are dislocated. We want to find there's about 11,000 such young people in our city. We want every one of them to have a summer job. That's going to take the involvement of companies all around the city, and that's going to take the involvement of our social service sector to make that partnership work. But I guarantee you, for a young person who has had a lot of disruption and dislocation, to get a chance to do something they never thought they would do and to see that there is a future, that's transcendent, and we need your help to achieve that.
Okay. Final question.
I want to thank you for the shout-out for CUNY. There's a benefit to sitting this close, apparently. So,
CUNY nomination.
As both you and Bill mentioned, there are increasing opportunities for certificate holders and two-year holders, and I think CUNY is the pathway to those opportunities in New York, and with your help, with the ASAP program now, we're going to graduate many more of these two-year degree holders. But the question I get from students, parents, high school counselors, and others, that I say, this is a terrific opportunity for you to go to a community college at CUNY and graduate in a STEM field or another with a two-year degree. They say, what can you tell me about the jobs that are there? So I know you talked a lot about that this morning, but help me with my elevator speech. What's the response to them about what the city's doing, what this group's doing to make sure that there are jobs for these hundreds of thousands of CUNY graduates?
Thank you. Well, Chancellor Milliken, I thank you for the question. I thank you for the extraordinary work you're doing at CUNY. A couple of things I'd say. First of all, again, I have such faith in the future of our economy, the ever more diverse economy that we're building here. And a lot of this was well underway before I showed up, but I know that this administration is taking the right actions to deepen the growth and diversification of our economy and the tech sector. The story is extraordinary, and there's limitless potential here, effectively speaking. And I think that's the key answer, that we have a growing sector that, in fact, is hungry for trained people, can't find enough of them in New York City. We haven't aligned our educational system, including CUNY, to create the trained folks for that sector. It's staring us in the face. And I have to tell you, folks in the tech sector, alerted me to this, and it actually was heartwarming. I find so many people in that sector are really civically minded and particularly focused on the issue of education. And around the time that Cornell Technion was being introduced, which is going to be a great addition to our city, some folks in the tech sector said, we love that, we think that's fantastic, but we need every kind of worker, and the place that we're most interested in is CUNY, because CUNY can help us right now to address some of our employment needs, and we need people for every type of job, and CUNY's perfectly situated to reach so many talented young people and give them that last piece, that 2-year degree. That's all it takes in a lot of cases to have a transcendent impact. So I think here is an example of an industry ready, willing, and able to hire that doesn't have all the talent it needs. I think the same is true in a lot of the healthcare industry. And that's why we want to just keep calibrating. We want to create, if you will, a very fast assembly line. Keep calibrating the educational and training efforts to the needs of this economy right now. Identify the young people who need that opportunity. Make sure it is resourced, and keep connecting them directly to jobs. And I think in many industries we have willing partners ready to do that. The other point I have to say related is we can't achieve all we need to achieve at CUNY if we don't fix our public schools. And I have to tell you, this is a fundamental reality. I'm not satisfied with the status quo in our public schools. I'm not going to rest until it's fundamentally different. I believe in public education, but I believe personally, philosophically, from my own experience in public, I'm a product of public education. My wife, Charlene, is. Both my kids are products of New York City public schools. We believe, but the status quo is not acceptable. And CUNY ends up particularly bearing the brunt of that, with so many young people get to you not fully ready. That's why we are going to address the education problem at all levels, starting with reaching children much earlier and much more effectively, to get you, the kind of young people, ready to learn at the CUNY level. We also are going to do more and more to infuse STEM elements into this public education curriculum, and to infuse computer science training in particular into the public school curriculum. That's going to take some time, it's going to take some work, but that's where we need to go as a city. Finally, to say, you mentioned the role of guidance counselors. One of the reasons I was up in Albany last week saying it's time to really address the requirements that the Court of Appeals determined almost most of a decade ago, that the city of New York was not getting the appropriate amount of public school education funding from the state. This was a decision the Court of Appeals first actually acted on, implemented by Governor Spitzer, but for only 1 year, and then the economic crisis struck. For the first time since, the state, thank God, has a strong surplus, almost $8 billion. It's time to address this unaddressed issue. And I got to tell you, and I said in Albany, if you want to know why, easy numbers. We have 171,000 kids with special needs out of our almost 1.2 million kids in our public school program. 171,000 kids who need extra help. We can't do that well enough without the appropriate resources. We have, in terms of guidance, right now in New York City high schools, one guidance counselor, on average, one guidance counselor for every 374 students. We're trying to prepare these young people to succeed to get into college, to succeed in college, or to find work or find training. Put yourself in the shoes of that one guidance counselor trying to manage the lives of 374 students. This is another example why we need the resources to actually reach our young people properly and prepare them for the modern world. So I'm going to keep fighting for that help from Albany. But in the meantime, this was not an elevator speech. I'm sorry, I went off. This was like a very long elevator ride where someone obnoxiously pushed all the buttons. Okay, but the point is, the point is, it all goes together. And maybe being a parent myself was my awakening in this area. The day, I always say, the day we brought home Kiara changed my life and Charlene's life forever and changed our perspective. Thank you again, Mayor Dinkins, for making that possible. But when you see what could be in each young person's life, but how much focus and investment it takes to create the young people who could be so vibrant in the city of tomorrow. That's what drives us every day, and that's what we're going to invest in. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all for coming. Get home safe, get to your work safe and home safe, and we will see you very shortly. Thank you.